Not only was Cody Rhodes the best option to dethrone Roman Reigns, he was the only option to dethrone him. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a great option like Seth Rollins, but if you were building up the Roman Empire, to have Seth Rollins be able to once again get over Roman Reigns wouldn't really help Roman. Then you got a guy like Jay, the man that was tormented by his own flesh and blood in Roman Reigns, forced into the bloodline, forced into a role where he had to listen to Roman Reigns, and this would have been a really good story, but I feel like for Jay, he needed a lot more to be able to break out into his own self. And while many say Drew McIntyre would have been a great story, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is just a really hyped up match that I don't think would have been a great story at all. But for Cody, it was perfect because the entire theme of their rivalry is one of the best themes that we've seen in WWE, legacy and redemption. Move over Peter Griffin because there are two new family men in town, and that's Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. These guys are very much so all about their family, uplifting their family, making their family to be as prominent as possible. On one side of things, you have Roman Reigns trying to take the iconic bloodline and make it even more iconic. Guys like The Rock, Umaga, Rikishi, the Usos. He had to overcome all of this. He had to make this into a much bigger thing than it already was. But for Cody, it's a bit different because his family is kind of more or less seen in that comedic role and less in that multi-time world champion faces of an era type of role. Obviously, we know the talent that Dusty and Dustin were. You cannot take that away from them at all. But they were never seen as the guy, more as one of the guys. Besides Rikishi, that can't really be said about the bloodline. The Rock is regarded as one of the greatest, if not the greatest wrestlers in WWE history. The Usos are regarded as one of the greatest, if not the greatest tag teams of all time. So where Cody was trying to make his family into a prominent one, Roman was trying to make his family into a more iconic one. And for Roman, you could say early on it looked like it was going to be the case, as he was put into one of the most prominent factions of all time in the Shield, eventually was broken away from them, and then got his world championship pretty early on into his career. Then he would go on to get the bloodline as well. And while Big Dog Roman may not be the greatest part of his career, it's not a bad gimmick by any means. As a matter of fact, the guy was always given the greatest of gimmicks. It's just he wasn't given a great role trying to be a face. It was very clear that Roman needed to be a heel. Heck, he even said it himself. But for Cody, well, he wasn't always given the greatest of roles. See, these were roles that you definitely had to work extra hard with, whether it would be Stardust, dashing, undashing. He would really have to put a whole lot into these roles. Like, you had to be a try-hard just to make these roles as good as he possibly could. And don't get me wrong, Cody definitely took these roles and made them as good as he possibly could. He turned trash into pretty much greatness. While Cody did play these roles very well, it was also very obvious that he doesn't have what Goldust and Dusty had, which was a connection to the crowd. Like, we couldn't have Dusty Rhodes give us his Hard Times promo, and his thing was always about not really having much but still making much out of nothing. Then for Cody, it was like, you're a Nepo baby pretty boy. How does that actually relate to what your father came from? How did you become this at all? Again, he did a really good job in the role, but it didn't connect. Same thing with Stardust. It felt like as if it was just a knockoff of Goldust, and we had already seen Goldust, so he needed to find a way to connect the crowd, and it just, again, played the character great, but didn't connect. Funny enough, same issue that kind of Roman had as well as a face. But you know where Roman and Cody don't connect? Roman never had to go find himself again. Instead, all he had to do was be found by Paul Heyman. Cody never got that. No, instead, Cody would have to leave and go reinvent himself and go re-find himself. He would have to go to ROH, TNA, New Japan, heck, build his own freaking company in AEW. And probably for the first time in Cody's career, people were actually getting connected to him. The fact that he was willing to leave WWE and go out into the indies, go to these smaller companies, go build up your own freaking company just because you wanted to wrestle, because you absolutely loved wrestling, we actually started getting connected to him, which would eventually lead to his big time return to WWE, but this is where Cody would have to show us even more. Okay, yeah, we understand that you love WWE, but why should we love you? It was a lot more than just Dusty loving WWE or Dustin loving WWE that made us love them. Who are you? And we learned exactly who Cody was, a man that just loved the hell out of his family. He loved his mama and he loved his papa, and he wanted to make them as proud as he possibly could. He wanted to make his family as established and well-renowned as he possibly could. The dude would wrestle with a freaking torn pec if it took that just to be able to raise the bar of his family tree. And this is where he would finally get the connection with the crowd that both Dusty and Dustin had. But that still wasn't enough. to get him over Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39. And some may say that this was a bad decision. Heck, even for the longest, I believed it was as well. But now looking back at it, we were all rooting for Cody to finish the story. We all wanted him to finish the story. But we also always felt like outsiders. We felt like as if we were outside of the car just watching the race. And this is where WrestleMania 40 comes into play, and I say that this is probably one of, if not the greatest written stories of all time. Because after getting screwed in WrestleMania 39 by Solo Sikoa, he would go on to fight the rapist Brock Lesnar. Then he would go on to, which by the way, for no freaking reason, we still don't even know to this day why the heck he actually fought him. But then he would go on to fight the Judgment Day. He would go on to fight Shinsuke. He would then have to go win another Royal Rumble after just winning one the year before. But then he ran into The Rock. The Rock came back and everybody wanted to see Rock versus Roman. This is a match that people have been talking about for the longest of times. So now he would have to get an even deeper connection with the fans. And when it had looked like as if he was going to just say, Rock, you can have that, I'll go after the World Heavyweight title instead, the fans fought back. We now got into the car and said, no, Cody, if you ain't gonna drive, we gonna drive it for you. You gonna get over to Roman Reigns. You gonna fight Roman Reigns. And you gonna dethrone Roman Reigns because we want to finish the story as well. Not just you. We want to do it for Papa Dusty. We want to do it for Mama Rhodes. And this is why I say Cody is not only the best person to pick for this, he was the only person to pick to dethrone Roman Reigns because nobody else was going to give us this deep of a connection. Because mind you, Cody had gotten to the mountaintop at 38, 39 when he was one of the cover boys for a wrestler that we all thought back like in the early 2000s, like mid 2000s, that he was going to be that guy, that he was going to be up there with the likes of Randy and John Cena real early on in his career. We didn't think that it would take him almost 15 years just to finally get to the mountaintop. But with these other guys, they don't really have that same thing. Seth Rollins, he had gotten to the mountaintop pretty early in his career. Jey Uso had gotten to the mountaintop with his brother for a good amount of his career. Drew McIntyre, while it was during the pandemic era, he still got to the mountaintop. But Cody, he never got there. He never got there at all. And you also have to throw into the fact that he valued the WWE Championship heavily. The dude had won the Ring of Honor World Championship, and even then it was like, okay, yeah, I won that championship and I won belts outside, but the belt that I want the most is the WWE Championship, not the World Heavyweight Championship, that belt right there, which would give an even deeper connection because he had been to these other companies. He had been a top guy in other companies. Heck, he could have won the AEW World Championship if he really wanted to. But because he valued and loved WWE so much, this helped create an even bigger connection with the WWE audience because they also value and love WWE so much. But hey, y'all go ahead and let me know down below though. How do y'all feel about this? Do y'all think that somebody else could have been an even better choice than Cody Rhodes? Or do you think that Cody was always the best and really the only option?